the help of labor and capital, okay, production we are going to be made. That is why we are telling a physical transformation of resources that we call it as inputs. Okay, inputs into physical output we call it as production function. Particularly, it is purely a technological relationship. Okay, so the relationship between a technological relationship between inputs and output we call it as production function. Okay, so we can, when we write in a equation form, okay, uh, right. So when we are writing in a mathematical way, production function, we can, write Q is a output, is a function of A, B, C, D, or Q, as I said, it is output, okay, capital and labor. With the help of capital and labor, okay, production is going to be produced. Okay, so here, when we are talking about the elements in the production function, okay, time element, and particularly it is for the short run production function and long run production function. When we are talking about the short run, as we know that it is a period where the producer has to know flexibility of only few inputs, and remaining all are the constant, or we can say that constant variable inputs. Okay, capital, as we know that with the help of capital, sometimes plants and machinery, these are fixed in the short run, because due to no very short period, unable to change the technology, okay, in the short period. So there are certain assumptions. One of the important assumption is short run, and another one is long run. As we know that in the short run, particularly, one variable we can change, and the remaining variables are the constant. Why only one variable? Because labor can change, either increase or decrease. We can change with the help of the labor only. So labor is a variable factor, and remaining all are the constant factors. Okay, so that we call it as machinery and equipments. These all are, in the short run, these are constant. Constant, why? Because unable to change the machinery. Okay, not possible because of due to very short period of time. Okay, so labor only we can change. That is why which variable we are changing, that we call it as variable factor. Okay, variable means we can change that factor. So next another one is long run. As we know that long run, the time period is long enough to change all the factors, all the inputs. The producer, if there is a huge demand for his products, okay, he tries to increase the labor along with the machinery and this uh, plant and machinery with the help of capital. Because in the long run, there is a possibility of changing all the factors. So whenever there is a possibility of changing all the factors, we call it as, all the uh, factors become variable. Okay, that means these factors are can be changeable according to the time period that is related to long run. Okay, and forms of production, when we observe classification of production into two forms, technological and particularly the technological coefficient in that inputs may be fixed or variable. Okay, so fixed proportion of production function, that is when we are talking about fixed, it is not possible to change the technology. And the variable proportion of the production function as the variable proportion production function, uh, we can change the labor required to produce one additional unit of no output. Okay, whenever there is a required of the labor, because as we are telling variable, okay, that means the labor or the factor that which can be uh, change according to the their required. Okay, so here the technological coefficient, particularly labor that requires uh, the same proportion of production. Okay, capital and labor proportions. So another important one is isoquant, the concept of isoquant. Isoquant that shows the combination of input, we can say that labor and capital, to produce a specific level of output, we can call as isoquant. This particular isoquant, the production is similar to the concept of indifference curve. Here, when we observe the isoquant and indifference curves, isoquant is related to producer and indifference curves are related to the consumer. How the consumer is getting satisfaction uh, with his given income, how he is going to be purchase commodities X and Y, how he is getting equilibrium. Okay, so that isoquants related to producers. So here how the producer is going to be utilize capital and labor and how he is producing maximum level of output with the help of capital and labor. Okay, so here this isoquant represents all the combination of two factors which are we also called as inputs. Okay, which produce a given period of quantity. Okay, a given quantity. So the production can be measured in a quantitative in nature in terms of isoquant. Unlike the indifference curves, as we know, that shows a particular level of output. So therefore, when we are talking about the isoquant, simply we can say that isoquants represents the combination of two factors, which are capital and labor, how the producer utilizing the capital and labor and producing goods. That we have to remember. And isoquant map, it is isoquant map. When we uh, gather these three isoquant, okay, a set of isoquant, we call it as isoquant map. Okay, a set means more than one isoquants. In between the isoquants, more isoquants will be we can draw. Okay, so here when we are talking about the isoquant map, as I said, it is important feature of isoquant. And at this same where indifference curves, when we observe or when we compare isoquant and indifference curves are giving it express the level of satisfaction, particularly when we compare the indifference curves, higher the indifference curve give higher level of satisfaction, and lower the indifference curve give lower level of satisfaction. When we coming to the this isoquant, higher the indifference curve give higher level of output, and lower the indifference curve gives lower level of output with the help of capital and labor. Okay, so marginal rate of technical substitution, it is a similar concept of marginal rate of substitution. Okay. So this marginal rate of technical substitution, when we observe, it indicates the rate at which the factors of that substituted a marginal without affecting the output. Okay. So here the marginal rate of technical substitution between the factors, we can say that labor and capital, which may be defined the level of output. So here, with the help of marginal rate of technical substitution, the slope of isocant, okay, it explains the marginal rate of technical substitution between the the labor and the capital, which combination we are going to utilize. So if we consider the combinations, A combination, B, C, D combinations, okay. For example, factor A combination utilizing labor only one labor and utilizing capital 14. Okay. If combination B, it is utilizing 2 laborers and capital is 10. So likewise, the variation between these marginal rate of technical substitution between capital and labor, okay, that automatically decreases, okay, when we observe that. And when we this is a very important topic, properties of isoquant. Okay, so properties of isoquant, there are certain characteristics or features, okay, or properties are there of for particularly for isoquant. So here, first one is isoquants have negative slope. Okay, negative slope means downward slope from left to right. Okay, so here these isoquants generally slopes downward from left to right. This indicates that when the use one input increases, the use of another input generally that decreases. Okay, the level of output being the same. What does it mean? Isoquants have negative slope. Any combination, capital and labor, when we are talking about, if capital increases, labor has to decrease, or if labor increases, capital has to decrease. So that is the reason why these isoquants are negative slope. Okay, so another property or characteristic is isoquants are always convex to the origin. Convex to the origin. Why? Because it is not concave. Convex to the origin. So because the slope of isoquant, as I said, marginal rate of technical substitution, okay, between labor and capital, when we write it, the proportion or the change in capital relates to change in labor. Okay, so that is the reason why it is convex to the origin. This isoquants reveals that the marginal rate of technical substitution diminishes when the movement or take place the isoquant from left to right. What does it mean? This marginal rate of technical substitution decreases when we are taking the combination, A combination or B combination. If laborer increases, we have to automatically reduce the capital. That is why the isoquants are always convex to the origin. Okay, so the quantity or the quantities of factor, can say the labor increases, less of the other factor, that is capital, will be used. Okay, that is the reason why it is convex to the origin. Simply we can say that one factor increases, another factor has to decrease. That is the reason why, okay, marginal rate of technical substitution, capital and labor, okay, convex to the origin. Another important property is isoquants are do not intersect each other. Isoquants are do not intersect each other. What does it mean? These isoquants do not intersect, do not touch each other. Okay. So because uh, as I said, these isoquants are more specific, related to the particularly output. Okay. If two isoquants are intersect each other, it shows, different, uh, what we can say that logical contradiction that isoquants at point, okay, producing, that is different from the another isoquant. As I said, when we compare to the indifference curves again, indifference curves, at indifference curve, any point that any point of that indifference curve gives same level of satisfaction. Okay. At the same time, as I said, higher indifference curve give higher level of satisfaction, lower indifference curve, lower level of satisfaction. Coming to the isoquant, higher level of isoquant gives higher level of output than the lower level of isoquant. What does it mean? Upper isoquant give high and lower one gives lower level of output. But within that curve, isoquant curve, at any point that gives the same level of output. But when these two intersect each other, okay, one side, this one iso curve is upper, and the other side, the same curve will be lower. When these two are intersect, one is up and the same curve is on the another side is below the another isoquant curve. So here one side which is upper, that giving more or higher level of output, but coming to the lower side, the same curve is giving lower level of what we can output, because according to the property, any isoquant gives same level of output, but the same isocurve giving different level of output, because when they intersect each other, it giving different level of output. That is the reason why these two isoquant curves do not intersect each other. If they intersect each other, the output levels are different from the curve. Okay, so that we have to remember. That is the reason why these do not intersect each other. And higher isoquant curve give high level of output than the lower level of isoquant curve. That you have to remember. Okay, coming to the point, ridge line. Okay, this isoquant shows a particularly the production function and various combination of input that produces the same level of output. As I said, if you consider any combination A, B, C, D, as I said, if labor increases, capital has to decrease. If capital increasing, labor has to decrease. Okay, so here in this context, when we observe, the producer is to choose an optimal input combination that is most efficient method to produce a given level of output. He producers utilizing the capital and labor, they have to utilize these two sufficient manner. With the help of this, they are going to get given level of output. So generally, a firm should use only that combination of input that is economically where it is sufficient or efficient. That combination they are going to be utilized, because at that combination it gives higher level of output with the help of capital and labor. That you have to remember. And the another one is, a firm, as I said, should be use only one combination, okay, which is giving efficient Okay, with the help of that, they try to produce more output. Okay, so that is related to ridge line. Okay, if input is used when the marginal product is negative, this production or this method can be uh, used in an insufficient manner. So they have to utilize efficient manner where these combinations gives high with with the help of these inputs, they are going to be get maximum level of output. Okay, so isocast line, isocast, it shows the combination of two factors that can be used to produce the output with the predetermined budget or outlay. So here, when we are talking about the isocast line, it shows the combination of these two factors, capital and labor, okay, that can be used to produce the uh, output with the help of the budget. Okay, that is related to isocast. And when we are talking about producers equilibrium, as we have seen indifference curve, with the help of indifference curve, why I am comparing indifference curve? These are the similar isoquants. Here we are talking about isoquants related to producer. Their indifference curves are related to consumer. Okay. So with the help of the indifference curve, how the consumer is getting equilibrium with his given income. Here, how the producer is getting equilibrium with the help of capital and labor. Okay, so isoquant map, as I said, is stated that any set of isoquant combination of that gives various possibilities of combination of input. Okay, in the same way, isocast line that represents the various level of outlay is nothing but expenditure given the prices for the two inputs, that is capital and labor. Okay, so how the uh, producer getting equilibrium with the help of isoquant where we with given budget line. Okay, so here where the isoquant curve gives higher level of output, there the capital and labor utilizes maximum level and they can produce more with his given income or budget. Okay, so here another important topic, law of variable proportions. Okay, law of variable proportion. As we have seen, production function, one is short run production function, the another one is long run production function. This law of variable proportion is related to short run production function. Okay, so here in this law of variable proportion, this is a very important concept for your examination point of view. Here, this law of variable proportion, there are certain assumptions are there. Why there is a diminishing returns? What are the reasons? Okay, what are the importance of this returns to scale? We are going to discuss now. So, law of variable proportion, as we know that law of variable proportion is called production function with one variable input. Only one variable we are changing, the other variables are going to be constant. So according to this law of variable proportion, Okay, production function of a firm, all inputs are fixed except one variable, that is labor. Okay, what does it mean? Due to this law of variable proportion is related to short run, due to short period of time, unable to change the technology because of short period. These producers or firms, they try to change only one variable or one factor, that is labor. Okay, so here this labor while changing, okay, remaining factors are inputs like plant machinery. Okay, these all are, we call it as fixed, not able to we are unable to change this. So here when the farms changes only the amount of labor or only one factor that we called as labor, it alters the proportions between fixed inputs and variable input. The ratio of employment of the variable, okay, fixed factor that goes on increasing the quality of variable factor that is increased. So here the law of variable proportion, when we are talking about it, okay, it may be diminishing returns, okay, increasing returns, okay. When we talk about the law of variable proportion, there are certain assumptions are there. Based on that assumptions, this law of variable proportion works. Okay. So here, one of the important assumption is that the state of technology is assumed to be unchanged. Okay, technology is unchanged. Unchanged means technology is fixed, unable to change. Okay, there is an improvement in the technology, then the marginal and average products may be rise instead of diminishing. Okay, that we have to remember. That is one assumption. And the another assumption, there must be some inputs whose quality is kept fixed. This law does not apply in the case of all the factors proportionally varied. Okay, law of variable proportion, all the variables must be fixed. Only one variable going to be changed. Okay, so the another assumption, the law is based upon the possibility of proportions, particularly which varies. It varies, particularly factors can be combined in the production or product. So this law does not apply to those cases where the factors must be in a fixed proportion, okay, to to produce a product. Okay, so the law of variable proportion has three stages. Okay, the law of variable proportion is also known as law of substitution. This law indicates the technological relationship between physical inputs and output, particularly in a short period of time, because the law of variable proportion is related to short period. Okay, in the short run, factors of production are two types. One is fixed factors and another one is variable factors. Short run is a time period. Short run is a short period, not sufficient period, so that they are unable to change the technology. Okay, so fixed factors of production will be there, that is technology. In such a period of time, it is possible to bring the changes the volume of output by implying more and more laborer changing. Only one factor we are changing and the remaining factors are constant. That changing variable is labor. With the help of the labor, okay, they are going to be increase the production. So when we observe, when we assume there are only two factors of production, that is land and labor. This law of variable proportion is applicable for agricultural sector. Okay, for agricultural sector. There are only two factors of production. These are capital and labor. Okay. In this case, land is fixed. Okay, land is fixed and labor is treated as a variable factor. Variable factor means changing the factor, changeable factor, possible to change. Okay, so that is variable factor. So given fixed factor, that is land, increasing the employment of a variable factors that leads to variations in the production of factor combination. Okay, so with the help of this changing variable, that is labor, this law of returns are proportions that indicates particularly the pattern of changing. It may be total product, average product, and marginal product. Due to increasing the due to changes in the variable factor, that is labor. Labor, we are going to be changed. Due to changes in the labor, there will be a changes in the production, total production, average product, and marginal product. Okay, that we have to remember. So when we observe the law of returns, there are three types: increasing returns, diminishing returns, and negative returns. A given fixed factor in the beginning, if we apply more, okay, if we apply increased, particularly as I said, labor, the marginal product of variable factor increases at a faster rate, later on decreasing rate. Okay, as I said, there are three stages are there. In the first stage, this marginal product of labor factor increases faster than the total product. When we are increasing the labor, total production will be, total product will increase, but this marginal product is greater than the total product. It increases more than that. Okay, this we call it as first stage, law of increasing returns. We call it as. And when we talk about the increasing the output to meet the increasing demand, again, if we increase the employment, what does it mean? When we increase the laborer more and more, okay, or additional labor, this additional does this variable, okay, the marginal product of the this increases at a decreasing rate. What does it mean? In the first stage, marginal productivity is increasing, total productivity is increasing at increasing rate. Increasing rate means increasing, higher. When we are talking about second, the total product increases but a decreasing rate. Increases but decreasing rate, and marginal product, it becomes zero. Marginal product, it becomes zero when it is total product will be high and marginal product will be 0. While diminishing, it becomes 0. So here when we observe further, if we increase the employment more, okay, if we increase the employees more, the productivity will decrease, diminishes, okay, because the marginal product becomes negative. Marginal product. What is marginal product? Additional product of from the additional laborer. Additional product of additional laborer. First, there are, for example, two members are there laborers. If we increase additional labor 2 to 3, 2 to 3, hello, నేను మళ్ళీ online class. So here, when we are talking about diminishing returns, okay, there are 3 stages are there. First stage, increasing returns. Second stage, decreasing, or we can say that diminishes returns. The third stage, decreasing or negative returns. Okay, why it is increasing at first stage? When we know, particularly as I said, it is applicable to the agriculture sector. If we, for example, 1 acre of land, if we increase the laborers, first one laborer, if we are adding 2 laborers, okay, production may be increasing, okay, but when we add more and more laborers in the same land, it becomes the highest, total product will be highest, okay, and marginal product will be 0. What is marginal product? What is total product? Total product, when we add while increasing this labor, okay, how much from that land they are getting, that is total. What is marginal? When we add this additional labor, how much increasing in the, or how much changes in the total output or total product, that is marginal product. Changes in the total product due to changes in the laborers, we call it as marginal product. So in the first stage, marginal product increasing, total product increasing, average product is increasing. In the second stage, total product is highest, marginal product is 0, average product decreases in the second stage. That is the reason why when there is a highest in the total product, marginal product will be 0. If we add additional labor, okay, if we add additional labor in the agriculture sector, particular, specific land, okay, there, that additional, from the additional labor, productivity becomes negative, that is why it is diminishes, the production also diminishes. From that additional labor, if we add in that field or doesn't add, production will not affect. So that is the reason why it is applicable, this law of variable, particularly in agriculture sector. So there are 3 stages, as I said: increasing, diminishing, and negative. This is all about the law of variable proportion. Okay, so this law of variable proportion, as I said, if we are increasing the laborers, okay, total product will increase at increasing rate at first stage. If we add additional laborer, total product will be increased at a decreasing rate. If we add laborers more and more again, particularly this labor in the field, agriculture field, okay, total product becomes negative, okay, average product becomes decreases, and marginal product becomes negative. That you have to remember, okay, it becomes negative. So reasons for diminishing returns. When we look into the reasons, when we so it is assumed that some factors of production are fixed in the short run. As I said, it is not possible to vary their quantity in the short period. In case of farmer, okay, the land is fixed factor. If a farmer employs more, does particularly the variable factor uh, on a given land, the additional unit of variable, but that is factor, cannot be contribute or increase marginal product. So another reason for diminishing returns in the production process, factors of production are combined in a optimum combination. Whenever these combinations exceeds the optimum, that becomes diminishes the returns. It shows the presence of the production process so that there is a possibility to get the returns in a decreasing rate or diminishes. So another thing is, according to the John Robbins, factors of production are not perfect substitutes. It is not possible to substitute labor for capital because of short period of time. And also infinity labor is, as a result, the increasing the variable factor that leads to diminishing the returns. Diminishing the returns. So reasons for applicability to agriculture sector only. Why we are talking about are applicable this law of variable proportion to agriculture sector when we observe it. Okay. So here, why it is applicable? See, as I said, land is fixed. Supply of land is fixed. If we employ more and more variable factors, that is labor, and a fixed factor, that is land, the additional unit of variable factors contributes smaller amount to the total output. If we increase more and more laborers in the land that is fixed, okay, from these additional laborer, from these additional factors, they contribute smaller amount to the total product that becomes decreasing. Okay, so there is a limited scope for division of labor in agriculture sector. It is not possible to have economies of large scale production, so that there is a chance to decreasing the decreasing returns. That is a reality in agriculture sector. In fact, as we know that farmer may have small pieces of land in different places. Okay, the spread of small pieces of land, they may get problems. Effective supervision is distinct really in agriculture sector, so that there is a possibility of diminishing returns in agriculture sector. So another important reason for applicable in agriculture sector or to agriculture sector, limited scope for mechanization in agriculture, and hence it is not possible to recap internal economies in agriculture sector. Okay, so that is the reason why it is applicable in agriculture sector. And also agriculture sector does not provide employment opportunities throughout the year. Okay, so as a result, what will happen? Average cost of the production will increases. This leads to decrease the output of agriculture sector. That is the reason it is applicable to agriculture sector. And also agriculture, as we know that it plays an active role because most of the people are engaged in agriculture sector, particularly India, developing countries also we can say that. So the variations, it depends on the weather, the rainfall, it shows impact on the agricultural production. Okay, so that is the reason why it is applicable in only agriculture sector, this law of variable proportion. And when we are talking about the limitations, this law of diminishing returns does not apply to the land which is brought under cultivation of it first. And this land particularly, fertility not yet extracted fully, and initially the increase in the variable factor contribute more output. As I said, initial stage, that is nothing but first stage. When we add more and more laborers, total output will increase, marginal productivity or marginal product decrease, also increase at first stage. So that is the reason. If the combination is moving upward optimum, the marginal product of variable factor also increases. If these changes in the technology or methods of production, the marginal product of variable factor of this also increases. What is the importance of this diminishing returns? Okay, this law basically Malthus population theory. Based on that, taking in account diminishing returns in agriculture sector, Malthus pointed out that scarcity of food grains in the future. This law, particularly on the basis of Ricardo's theory, as mentioned that employment variable factors of production increase, the marginal product diminishes. When there is a more and more employment increases, there will be a production automatically, or the marginal product will declines, diminishes. That you have to remember. So this law very useful to find out optimum combination of factors, that is labor and capital. We use more and more labor and capital. Okay, that leads to if they use efficient manner, output will be more. Okay, so this law is useful to find out the reasons for presence of discussed unemployment in less developed countries. It is easy to find out how many are there, this discussed unemployment in less developed countries, that we have to observe. So the relationship between, when we observe the production function, relationship between physical and input and output, we call it as production function. Simply we can say that a technological relationship between input and output is called as production function. This is all about the production function. Law of variable proportion is very important topic for your examination point of view. Production function also important for your short. So next class, I try to give a PPT because it's more effective and it is based on the diagrams, graphs are there. So next time I'll definitely present with PPT. I'm going to close.